Hello, everyone. We're back again for another amazing Embrace Her Legacy live show. Today's Monday. We usually do this on a Wednesday, but we're switching things up in honor of College Week. And make sure that you guys are checking out our page because we have amazing stuff coming out this week for you guys. So we're just waiting for Maria to join us. Blues. We're here to cheer you up, have some girl talk. All right, we're just trying to get Maria in. Hello. How
Hello.
are
I
you?
love your hair.
Really?
I
Thank you.
love your hair. Can we come on, y'all? Whoever sees this on the replay, can we just this ISIS and this twister? You need to do that more often,
Really?
girl.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
liking it. This is the energy I need on this
I
Monday.
love the hair. I said that's why your hair appointment was canceled because you wasn't supposed to have another.
Right.
This is how you're supposed to be. Oh
Right.
God, I'm gonna get a cute little filter real
A
quick
little
so I can
filter
be
going on.
bright, and good. All right,
How are you feeling? How you doing?
honey. I'm not used to doing these lives on a
I
Monday.
was just saying.
That's how I'm feeling. Can't even hold you. And we have such a busy week. It's like already like Friday morning in my head, but I'm like, okay, Maria, just
It's only Monday.
go ahead and take it easy.
Yeah.
Calm down. Calm down. I'm telling myself to calm down. But you look gorgeous, honey. I
Thank
love that. Yeah,
you.
yeah,
So do you want to wait a little bit to let the people get in, or do you want to just get started?
let's just get started because we have so much to cover, and then honestly we have so much going on this week. It's like, guys, y'all can always tune in, okay, rewind.
All right, so let's get us started. So, hello everyone, welcome back to another amazing Embrace Her Legacy live show. But this week we're going to be doing it college style. So, the Empower You College Week started today, and over the last couple of days, a week or so, we sent out a Google form link in our bio on our Instagram and also on our stories throughout the week. And you guys dropped amazing inspirational messages, questions, tips, and tricks, and we're going to be unpacking all of that tonight. And stay tuned for the remainder of the week because we'll be dropping amazing college related content. And you'll probably see some amazing takeovers from our college ambassadors. Like today, we had Jocelyn. She did an amazing job. And like always, I'll be having this conversation with our founder, CEO, and inspirational homegirl, Maria Melendez. And don't be surprised if you see some of our college ambassadors in the comments answering your questions as well. So, if you like what we do and you want to keep up with us for more amazing lives or things like College Week, then make sure that you follow us on all of our social media. That's LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, the whole nine. So, make sure that you follow us on there. And in honor of College Week, we wanted to do something special. So, all of those amazing inspirational messages, we turned it into an ebook. So it's called Letting You Empower You, inspiring messages from college students just like you, because we're all going through the motions. We're all going through a college journey. So this is just a special way to give back to you guys right from the heart. So make sure that you click the link in our bio to download that, or you can comment the word college or college ebook on any of our college related posts, and then you'll get the link in your DMs, and I'll drop it in a few seconds in our comments.
You're so good at this. You're amazing.
You always flatter me, stop.
No, honey, I'm telling the truth. You're so good at this. Like, you're so good. Like, she's amazing. Like, is she not
Thank
amazing,
you.
y'all? Like, Isis is amazing. She just introed the heaven into
I
this.
can't
So
wait
it's blessed.
till we're on a stage, till it's really a live audience, and I have the microphone and I'm jumping around Zoom up.
Don't worry, y'all. It's coming. It's
Mm-hmm.
coming. It's already coming. It's already coming. Stay tuned. Q4 and Q4 2024 and Q1 2025 is going to be real lit. That's all we got. That's all we're gonna say.
Right.
The Q4 2024 and Q1 2025, things are already on the calendar. It's gonna be amazing.
So, in honor of College Week, I know that this is a Gen Z and millennial conversation, so our advice and tips and tricks might be a little bit different. But I definitely want to know, what college did you go to? Did you graduate? Just a brief overview of what your experience was, because the people want to know.
I'm repping, you know what I'm saying? My alma mater, Hofstra University. Shout out to Hofstra University. So I went to Hofstra University. I graduated cum laude at that. Your girl is smart. Don't get it
Mm-hmm.
twisted. I graduated May 2008, just so we can know, we can get an idea of how long ago that was, honey. Some of y'all wasn't even on the planet yet, or some of y'all were just, were just recently here. But I did graduate May 2008. My college experience, those were the best years of my life, like cumulative years, hands down. I went through a program called the NOAA program, New Opportunities at Hofstra, which is the HEOP program at Hofstra University, that really just transformed my life, took back my it really it transformed how I saw education, understanding what generations past had sacrificed and gone through for my right as a Black Latina young woman to have an education, college education. I took it so seriously. That program changed my life. I actually talk about it a lot in my book. If you ever want to just cop my book, Take the Limits Off of Your Legacy, it's still on Amazon. And yeah, I loved college. I was able to intern, which led to my job, to my career, which led to where I am now. I made great friends. If you know my college, like my college network is probably like the strongest network that supports Embrace Her Legacy. Y'all know Miss Miss Coco, Miss Shamika, all of the, Miss Keisha, and all these wonderful women who supported Embrace Her Legacy. Those are women who I met at Hofstra University. I feel like for me, because I went away, but then I was still close to home because I was in Long Island, I'm in Brooklyn. I got away, but still was able to come home. But I really got the college experience. We made mistakes. We were all learning on that campus together. I joined so many different organizations, whether it was dance organizations, whether it was Collegiate Women of Color. I don't know if it still exists at Hofstra, but those were the things that we did. Yeah, so for me, the academic part was one thing, and then I also learned, because I went to PWI. That was my first time dealing with racism and encountering those and navigating that, whether it's racism from professors or classmates. And in my college years, that's when I learned to take pride in a good way for being a young Black Latina woman. And that's when I really understood that I was smart. And sometimes you think that because you're from a certain socioeconomic background that you're not good enough. And when I walked into that campus, I knew I was good enough. The NOAA program had really prepared me for that. And I was very cognizant of how I represented myself in those classrooms. And that's where a lot of my, I guess, affinity for just empowering others who look like me, women, all of that started in college. But I love my Hofstra years, man. I wouldn't take it back. I wouldn't do anything. The only thing I would do differently is study abroad. That's the one thing
Mm.
I didn't do that I probably would have done, even if it was the first semester. But I had the fun. I had the social life, but I also was I was on Dean's List every semester, besides one semester at my first semester. But every semester I was hitting that Dean's List, and I was really good at what I did. And that's when I really realized I was smart, and not in a cocky way, but I was like, nah, I'm smart. And yeah, so those were my years. I majored in marketing, so I graduated with my bachelor's of business administration, and then later on went to grad school at NYU. So that's my school experience. What about you?
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Thank you for sharing. That sounds like a good
I
experience.
did.
All right.
I love my Hofstra years. Oh God, I love it. We were part of the Facebook generation. That's when Facebook first hit the scene. So it was a nice time. It was a nice time to be in college.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, my college experience, it was a doozy. She was a journey. So I was one of those students where as soon as the application was out, I was on it. Essay was written in the summer. Like I was super eager. I applied to a bunch of schools. Like I was super ready for college. And then once I started getting into the process, I'm like, oh, like I understand why people get so stressed out. Cause I'm like, I applied to 30 schools. How do I narrow it down to one? So that was interesting. I started off at SUNY Brockport, which is up north, if you're in New York State. It was a PWI, so it was a culture shock for me. And due to that, I didn't end up staying. I did a semester. I decided that it wasn't for
Mhm.
me. And I took my tail back home
Mhm.
to NYC. I started in Baruch. I was there for 2.5 years.
Mhm.
And that was during the pandemic. And I realized like it was really hard on my mental health. It was also really hard to feel like a student because I
Mhm.
felt like I was just learning off of the screen. It didn't feel authentic for me. So I did take a pause. I did take a semester off for a little bit. Then I was like, okay, I don't think I'm happy in Baruch. What if I make another change? I remember telling Marie, I'm like, I think I want to transfer. She's like, what? I thought you were in Baruch. I'm like, I am, but I want to leave. And I was like, you know what? College experiences are personal. There's a lot of my professors were telling me like, oh, I did college for 7 years because I couldn't decide. And I was like, you
Mhm.
know what? It's okay for change. So I ended up going to Lehman. I graduated last winter. I got my bachelor's of business administration and marketing and a minor in social work. And that was an experience. I feel like the one thing I will change is that I didn't slow down and I didn't really bask in the college experience how I should have. And I definitely would have given Brockport a more fair chance because I feel like I was so afraid of the unknown or
Mhm.
what could have been. I was like, no, let me go back home with what I'm used to. But I will say college opened my eyes and opened a lot of doors to opportunities like this.
Mhm.
So I appreciate it. And I learned a lot about myself throughout the college experience. And I wouldn't be the woman I am today for sure,
Mhm.
academically, and just like how I organize myself without college for sure. So I appreciate it. It was cool.
Thank you. I never knew you minored in social work.
Hmm.
Good. Good. Look at
Hmm.
that. Look at that. We're learning about each other.
Right? So I just want to get right down into the nitty gritty because the girlies want to know.
Mhm.
How do you manage your workload, especially when you're transitioning from high school to college or university?
Oh God, I think that's a good question. How do you manage your workload transitioning from high school to college? I think first and foremost, you're gonna have a calendar. That's the first thing. You're gonna have to, have your schedule in your calendar. But in your calendar, what I would do is I would put blocks of time for studying and for whatever schoolwork. Trying like to so or if you have, let's say, a class at 11 and then another class that ends at, let's say, 12, and you won't have another class till 4. Maybe between that you might want to put blocks of study time. So I would look at my calendar for the week, look at my tasks, and then space out time for doing assignments and things like that. I would also focus on using any type of apps that will help. We use Asana as a project management
Hmm.
time app. So I think like using apps that'll help you stay on track. Honestly, I hate to say it, but don't procrastinate. Like, don't wait until last minute. I don't hate to say it. Let me take that back. I love to say it. Y'all might not like to hear it, but don't procrastinate. This is not high school where you kind of know the game and okay, I could do that essay last minute. So if you get an assignment, especially if it's something that's new and you've never had an assignment like that, I would get started on it earlier and sooner than later, so that way you give yourself breaks in time, right? So if I have an assignment that's due in 2 weeks and I start it today, and today I might start it and I'm like, okay, this is a woman, I can take a break and get back to it tomorrow, or pick it up on Wednesday. But if I have an assignment due on Wednesday and it's Tuesday night, I have to now cram it in, and I don't know if that's really good for your mental health, work life balance. So I would definitely start getting started on assignments earlier. I would use my calendar, and some people like to write things down. I'm a queen for a journal, whatever it is, tools you need to do to write things down. And then also oh, you just remind me to do my school. Yep, exactly. Hi, gorgeous. How are you? Oh my gosh. So yeah, let's. I would do that. Those would be my suggestions. What about you about managing workload?
Um, Transitioning from high school to college was very interesting because I think it's so funny. In high school, all of my teachers were like, the nonsense that you guys do is not going to fly in college. Like, well, this wasn't me, but this was the general message to the class. Like being late or being like the class clown or just not doing well on assignments or like just not putting in the effort. They were like, oh, like that's not going to fly in college. And then when I did go to college, it made me understand like, okay, it's different when you're in high school and you're not paying to be there. Like you have teachers that are gonna clock you, they're gonna give you detention, they're gonna do whatever it is. Like in high school, it's a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
In college, you are paying to be there. So if you
Mm-hmm.
decide that you don't want to go to class for the whole semester, then you just lost out on 800 some odd
Mm-hmm.
dollars. But regardless of anything, your professor's still getting paid whether you're there or not. So it's like it's really all lost, no gain. And I remember that distinctly when I had an 8 a.m. and I was like, why did I pick this 8 a.m.? And I didn't go to like 2 classes and I'm like, ooh, why did my grade tank like that? I'm like, oh, let me stop playing. Like I paid to be here. I want to be here. So let me go to work. Let me go to work. Well, yeah, basically. Let me go
Yes,
to
that is
school.
your job. Yeah.
Right. And I feel like it definitely made me understand a sense of discipline because you might not want to go to that 8 a.m. class, but you have to. So I feel like understanding that the only person that can get you to go to class is you because you want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Your parents can say like, oh, I want you to get your degree, but it's just a matter of like how bad you actually want it. So understanding that, I feel like that's a big thing. Like, do you actually want to be there? So that calendars for sure. And when you first start classes, you're always going to get a syllabus. Keeping track of that because most professors will map out to you how the entire semester is going to go and is going to tell you when the tests are going to be, when the essays are going to be due. And all you have to do is plan yourself out accordingly. So if you're on top of it from the beginning, it'll be a very easy transition for the remainder of the semester.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easier said than done, but don't procrastinate. Like you don't want to be sitting on your laptop when your assignments due at 11:59 on Tuesday and it's like Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
It's stressful.
Yeah.
It makes your work a little bit lackluster. Like give yourself the proper time because like I said, you're paying to be here, so you want to excel. You want to show your best self, whether it's on paper or in the classroom. So yeah, I would say keep track of yourself, whether it's a journal or a calendar. Keep track of your
That's
syllabi. I think that's what you
syllabus.
say, syllabi.
Syllabi.
I
Yeah.
think that's the plural. Well,
Y'all know,
yeah,
y'all
that
know who we met.
and
Uh-huh.
just remind yourself of why you're doing it, and make sure that the why is personal to you, not because your parents want you to be there, not because of anything else. Why do you want to go to
That's
college?
good. I love it. Couldn't have said it
Mm-hmm. Oh,
better.
thank you. So, what is the best way to handle a work and social life balance, and even time management skills while you're in college?
So we've discussed this before about little acronyms we have. So one of
Mm-hmm.
them, my favorite, is my homegirl who told me about the IMNU, important but not urgent. So you have to identify on your calendar, on your time with your friends, what's important but not urgent, and you can kind of like then I would say have the list on have your task on a priority or a priority list. So an important but not urgent would be like, hey, like it's important that I call my mother back, but it's not urgent. I could call her back tomorrow, right? So now you try to figure out, all right, what's important. Essentially, you want to see what has the most consequences for completion versus non-completion, and then also when a deadline is. So I would think about what's IBNU, what's important but not urgent, and prioritize from that. And then we have something called ABCD tasks where you identify what are your A tasks. Those are the tasks that you need to get done that will have the most consequences if you versus completion versus non-completion. B are the ones that have like semi consequences. C are the ones that, and I forgot what C is. C is the ones that you would like to get to, but you don't really have to get to right now. And then D are the ones that you can delegate. So I would find out what are those what are those tasks, and then work and prioritize from there. You're like, okay, well, I need to get this paper done. I don't need to call my mother back, but you know what? It's important for me to go to that party on Friday, and I don't want to have a paper hanging over my head. Let me make sure I start getting that done on Monday, right? So I think that's what you need to, I would constantly make value judgments about what's important to you I wouldn't want to go and just, do too much socializing and not enough working. But I do identify that you need balance. So I would say, yeah, identify what are your important tasks, what are the ones that have, consequences versus completions versus non-completion. And then from then you can say, all right, how important is it that I be at that party on Friday or at that social club meeting on Thursday? And if it's that important to you, now you have to make decisions that allow you to be there and be present, because you don't want to be at the dance committee meeting and you're so worried about this paper you have to do. You understand? You're not giving that thing your full all because you're worried about the other thing. So I would just say focus on what's important to you that week. What are your priorities? And then schedule around them, make time for them, right? So even an example, like I know this weekend, I don't want to do nada, right? So, because I know this week we have a lot going on. You better believe on my calendar this week, I'm like, okay, you got to do this, 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 this. And I'm preparing. So, perfect example, I have a board meeting next Monday. I already have that agenda done. And my mission is to get those slides done by tomorrow, the latest Thursday, because I don't want to be thinking about that Friday or Monday, because I've identified that I'm like, I need to take time for me this weekend. I don't want to have that hanging over my shoulder. So I'm over my head. So let me work backwards and because this weekend I want to socialize. So you get what I'm saying? I want to take the hat off and be Maria. So that's what I mean by kind of like figuring out what's important to you and working backwards and making time for that, so that you're not, one isn't lackluster, or if one isn't, I want to say it's not as, it's not holding, another one is more holding more weight than one another, but each one is getting its undivided quality attention from you. So there's like, you did the paper good, you hung out good, you did the dance committee RA meeting well, and you still study for your test. Mm-hmm. So I think it's like, try to find out the balance of what's important. And you know what? Stop spending so much time scrolling on social media. And I bet that you will find about an hour in your day to work on your schoolwork or to call your mother back or whatever it is that you need to do. So you might even have to start to shave out, identify what are the distractions. Because a lot of us have a lot of distractions. So I would identify what the distractions are too and start to eliminate them one by one so you can focus on what's important for the semester.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
Very well said.
Thank you.
For me, when I was in college, how I handled my social and school life, it was like kind of treated it like a 9 to 5. I'm like, okay, like 9 to 5 was like my school hours, and whatever happened after 5 was my business. So I just navigated my day like that. When I was picking my classes each semester, I made sure that it was in the 9 to 5 hour, because I'm not a late class type of person. And when it came down to just making sure that I was on my P's and Q's, I knew that I'm a social butterfly. If you ask me, like, do I want to get coffee instead of doing this paper? Yeah, I'm going to go with you. But I knew that I couldn't do that. So I'm like, no, I'm going to set this timer for 2 hours, and I'm going to give this assignment my all for these 2 hours, and then I'm going to step away. Like, and then that was just what it was. I know that if I spend an excessive amount of time on something, I'm not gonna put in my best effort, because it's like my brain will be tired.
Yeah.
So that was something that I did. I'm like, all right, it's 3 o'clock now. I'm gonna sit down till 5. I'm gonna do my thing, and then after that, I'm gonna relax. And that really just helped me get through the day, because it felt like I was giving myself like the appropriate amount of time to do both. Like, put on my student hat, and then after a while, it's like, okay, now it's just ISIS. So that really helped. Study groups, that helped me a lot, because I felt like I was doing the work, but also getting like the social butterfly mix in. So that helped me. And it's like, all right, maybe I don't know it, but who I'm in the study group might know. So it's like, okay, now we're helping each other, and it made it fun. So that's something that I would try to do. And then for time management, whether you like to write things down, you like to put them in a digital calendar, Google Calendar, just make sure that you're keeping track of everything, even if it is dinner with Sally on Friday, just because you don't want to bite off more than you can chew and feel like, okay, I'm going to do this essay, but I'm also going to go out for drinks with the girls, but then I'm going to come back home and finish it and make sure I submit it before 11:59. Like, make sure that you are giving yourself enough time. And that's going to look different for everybody. But just make sure that you're giving yourself enough time to be a student and just to be yourself.
Yeah, I like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I like that. Good, well said.
Hmm. I feel like it's so easy to keep the student hat on and you're just like drowning in school. You're like, wait, I'm a human too.
Too, and I think you made a good point about how you picked your classes. I remember after my freshman year, I did not have a class on a Friday ever.
Mm.
Right. So yeah, after freshman, I think it was after my first semester of my freshman year. I remember, but I know definitely after freshman year, I never had a Friday class. So I would use Friday. I didn't. So the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I really did work on those days, but I knew that I scheduled my schedule. So Mondays I would start late, so I would have a long weekend, and then Tuesday,
Mm.
Thursdays I would start early. So I would. So that means my weekend would end. My weekend would start around Thursday afternoon. Maybe my last class would end at like 4 or 5 o'clock, and then my next class wasn't until Monday. Let's say 2:55.
Oh,
So
so you really had time.
I had time. And again, because you got to know what works for you. So I was like, I'm not at 8 o'clock in the morning class. That's not my ministry. Never had one. I think the earliest I had was like a 9:30. And it wasn't my strongest suit, but sis made it. So I knew that morning classes were my thing, and I knew I wanted to stagger my days. So Tuesdays and Thursdays were probably my more heavier classes. Day where maybe I had 2, 3, maybe 2, 3, maybe sometimes even 4 classes that day. And then Monday, Wednesday, I would have like 2 classes, and then Fridays I didn't have any class. So that gave me time. I knew, all right, well, girl, your day is ending early on a Thursday. I mean, on a Tuesday, go study. You have until tomorrow. If it's Tuesday, my next class on Wednesday is not till 2:55 on Wednesday. You have more than enough time to go work on your school stuff, so that by the time Thursday night comes, because I know an hour at Hofstra University, that's when the weekend started. Thursday nights was like college town, everybody, and I wanted to be outside,
Right.
the way we were outside back then. I didn't want to have to worry about studying and stuff like that. So I would also say that position your classes in a way that's good for you, suited for you to get your work done and for your temperament,
I
personality.
definitely want to speak to that too, now that you said it. When I was in Brockport, I actually had a dance class as one of my first classes in that first semester. And at first, I was like, why did I do that? Like, I don't want to be up
Mm-hmm.
at 8 o'clock in the morning moving around. But I kid you not, that was like the best way to start my day because
Wow.
we were stretching, we were doing a little bit of yoga before we were actually getting into the dancing. And it's like by the time it's over, you're sweating, you're
Mm-hmm.
up,
You're
you're
pumped.
aware. And it's like, now I'm ready to take on the day.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would say if you're into being active and moving around, definitely do some sort of yoga or dance class in the morning because it like jump started my day for sure. And just be mindful of the fact of how you operate and how your brain operates. Like I know I might need a little coffee if I'm having like a math class as like one of my first classes. So it's just like when you're creating your schedule, consider what you think is realistically going to work for you. Like, okay, yeah, you do want your day to be over by 2 o'clock, but do you really think you have the capacity to do all these math equations at 8
Mm-hmm.
a.m.? It's like, so it's something to consider.
Right. That's good. I like it.
Hmm. Now that we're getting a little bit into the classes, what are some good study tips that you have?
Wow, some good study tips that I have. First of all, back to go what works for you, right? Some people could study like sitting on a bed with books in a bed. Absolutely not. I don't suggest studying or doing anything on your bed. One thing we learned at the NOAA program taught us was always do your homework or any studying at a desk, right? And try to look at something try not to be distracted, right? So, or you can make your dorm space something that's suitable. Same when we talk about your workspace. You see how I have like my post-its, pictures of my friends and my family, people I love in my life, my books. Like I would say, try to make sure that your space is conducive to studying. And it's a nice space where you like, okay, it's my study time. So I would always sit at the desk, have my laptop in front of you, so that you're sending kind of like signals to your body that you're working, right? So I'm in my workspace. My body knows when we're sitting here, we're working, right? When I'm sitting on the couch, we Netflix. So I think like doing that, making sure you're positioning yourself in a good space. Um, everybody's different. I was good for, I cannot, and I don't know how it is nowadays, but back then everything was like, I'm pretty sure there's a lot more like digital textbooks,
Mm-hmm.
but back then everything was, regular books. I love, and I still do. I like to open a book and highlight. Like it's like I need to see, like my eyes need to see the colors, the subheadings and stuff like that. So I would try to, if seeing, having like a physical textbook is better for you, I would do that. Also making outlines. So if you're reading, making an outline, like, okay, this is what it was said. You kind of like jotting notes. I do that now in your notes, like I think honestly also being a good note taker during class so that you can come back and study them. I was always good like that. Even when I was at NYU in my grad school, in my graduate program and my MPA program, I was always taking notes during the class. And then also I would, professors always like to give you the slides. So I would always like download the slides, make sure that I'm absorbing from the class so that when I go home and I'm studying, I'm just reviewing, what was already said in class instead of kind of like spacing out in class and being like, what the heck is this, right? So those are things like, so that's what's another good study tip. Also, like some people work well with studying with other people. Not me, not the best. Like I can do it, but like study groups were never my like go-to thing, but there was something called the Hammer Lab at Hofstra University. And shout out to anybody at Hofstra University who remembers the Hammer Lab. That was a computer lab. So
Oh.
when we all would have an assignment due, it would be like 10 of us in there typing. And not that I'm saying that's a good study tip, but to your point, it was like we were holding each other accountable. Like, did you finish? Did you finish? No, I didn't finish. So it's like kind of like put yourself in environments that are going to drive your studying habits, that are going to empower you to get it done. So maybe if that's you and your friends all at the computer lab trying to get it done, or whatever, studying with one another, find out what's good for you. But yeah, those are my little study tips and trips. Sometimes I couldn't study in my room because the bed is right, the dorm room is like the size of a square, so the bed is right there, right? So I'm like, all right, let me just lay down and take a nap. I would get up and go to the library often. If I really needed to like block everybody out, give me a little cubicle in the library. It's at night. I never really studied in the daytime, so I would study at night. I would have me whatever coffee, whatever I needed, and I would just sit there and bang it out for the night. And yeah, and zone out. Back then, we didn't have to worry about D&Ds and phones, but I would put my phone on D&D, make sure that you block it out. Like, that's your study time, 2 to 3 hours. And I said, you made a good strong point. Like, remember why you're there. You're spending money. Like, you don't want to, if you want to come out college in debt, can you at least have the degree to show for it? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, at least get something out of it. Like you're paying money. Remember why you're there. Let that be your motivation to get you through it. But even though I say I didn't do it in my room a lot because I didn't want to sleep. And then a lot of times there's a lot going on in the dorm, so you can't really focus. Also, in that same instance, don't be afraid to take breaks. Whether it's a walk, whether it's I don't know, watching something encouraging, maybe coming back to this live, whatever it is that you need to do, don't be afraid to take breaks while you're studying as well, because it rejuvenates you when you could come back from studying. And again, if you're cramming, you can't do that. But if you're taking time to study, you can take an hour, 2 hour break and come back to it. So what are some good study habits that you would suggest?
Good study tips. I love what you said about the highlighting because I need different colored pens. So I need to differentiate what is this, what is this, is this most important because it's in red, blah, blah, blah. Like that's how I function. I know nowadays because there's like the Apple pens and the iPads and stuff that people like to do notes virtually. I cannot. I feel like I'm playing or I feel like I'm social mediaing when I'm taking notes in that way. and it doesn't feel authentic for me. I know it helps a lot of people, so do whatever works for you, but I like a regular pen and pencil highlighter that really helps me. I need to physically be in the classroom. I know that now we have like the choice of hybrid or online. I feel like being in the classroom, being able to like look at the board, raise my hand, seeing people, that really helped a lot. Please excuse the car alarm. This is the Bronx, you already know. Um, I do appreciate what you said about that sometimes you can't study in a group, because I am also the same way. Like it just depends on what type of assignment that it is. And I feel like as college students we like to do everything alone. It's like, oh, I'm gonna pull an all-nighter and do this by myself. But I feel like we always say this, like know when to delegate to others. So it's like, okay, if it is a group project or if it is like a major project that the whole class is doing and you do want some help, don't be afraid to email anybody in your class or reach out to your friends like, hey, can we get together? Like, I need the motivation. Like, I need someone else that might also be struggling on this assignment in the same room as me helping me out. Because, like I said, what I might not know, you might know, and then you can help me out. So that helps too. Um, I guess figuring out the time of day that you like to study, because I am an
Yeah.
all-nighter type of person. But a lot of my friends are like, no, I need to wake up, have my coffee, like really like digest whatever material that I'm learning. I'm like, hey, do you? So I think that's super important. And what is going to help you retain the information? I feel like it's easy to just look at your textbook, highlight a few things, and be like, okay, I'm studying. But it's like, what is going to actually make you remember this when you're sitting in front of your test and you're nervous? So I do like to put post-its around my house. Like I think places where I'm gonna be, like the mirror or in the kitchen or like in my room somewhere. It's like, oh, E equals MC squared. Like I can't help but remember that because I looked at it 3 times when I looked in the mirror. So that definitely helps too. Yeah, those are my study tips.
I like that. Look at us giving good study tips. All right now.
hmm So I definitely want to speak to this one. So how is everyone out there in college dealing with homesickness?
Oh, that's a good question. I didn't really deal with that because again, I was a hop, jump, skipping away. I was only like 30 minutes from my house, but and I wanted to get out. I wanted to get out of Brooklyn and get out of
hmm
East New York. I really never deal with homesickness. But if someone is dealing with that first, I would like have things from home to remind you of home, like to, like whether it's maybe you can FaceTime with your family and maybe I have virtual dinner nights, where, you guys are sitting down and having like, game night or whatever it is that you guys can get on FaceTime or Zoom and do together. I would definitely keep pictures of the people I love around me. If you can go home, try to go home whenever you can. And also remember that this is temporary. Like, it's only like 15 weeks. One semester, you'll be home, you'll go back. So I would just say keep your eyes on the prize. Call in, check in, have like virtual activities, pictures, things that remind you of home. And like, maybe you can even introduce. Maybe you have a certain from a certain culture. Maybe you can like bring that onto your campus to feel like you're at home. So maybe like, let's say if you like to make jollof rice and you're like Ghanaian or Nigerian, maybe you can bring that and bring your home recipes to cook for your friends and family, your friends on campus. And also too, like, also start to establish relationships on your campus. Find your tribe so that y'all can like kind of walk through that together and have fun and embrace the new season that you're in. With other college students who might be feeling the same way, it might feel a little homesick, but it's all right, y'all. Like y'all all on that. Like when you're away at college on the campus, it's a microcosm of the real world. So it's like a little world in itself. So I would just try to find other people who not say struggling with the same thing, but like find your tribe, find your people, and cultivate new relationships on the campus so that you don't start feeling homesick, right? And you're not always trying to go back home, go back home, go back home. And I know certain times, certain people being away on a college campus isn't for everybody. Like I've had so many mentees say, no, I'd rather just stay at home, be in the city is not for me. You didn't like it. And if that's not you, if it's really not you, and you really don't like being away like that, and it's taking a toll on your mental health, and you are not functioning to your best, then go back home. You know, you can always, and nowadays, y'all are lucky that y'all can do school virtually. If
Mm-hmm.
you're in New York, there's a trillion and one CUNY schools and options. But I would say if it's getting to the point where, and know, when it's like, when you're really dealing with some issues with your mental health, I would just say, maybe it's time to go back home, because I've come to the conclusion that college isn't for everyone, and then going away to college isn't for everyone as much as I love it. As much as I love that, and I recommend it for everyone, I do know it's not for everybody. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
For me, in regard to homesickness, I don't think it was the idea or concept of me being away, but it was more so that the actual environment on that particular campus didn't work for me. But I did like being away. I knew what it came with. I prepared myself for how I just made it super fun. Like I was in Target, I was in Five Below, getting all the cute decor, having like a theme, going on Pinterest. Like I was like treating it as if it was gonna be like my first apartment, like me moving out. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like my first time having my own space. Like how can I really make it my own? And I was like using it as like a test run for when I lived by myself, because I'm like, all right, I'm 8 hours away from home. There is no what's for dinner tonight. It's like, oh, what is the dining hall making, or what am I gonna make? So that's what kind of like fueled my fire. I was just excited to be away from home for the first time. I feel like at the time of my freshman year, I was in a relationship. So I feel like a lot of the homesickness was in that area. And I really, honestly speaking, if you in a relationship going into your freshman year, oh, that was an interesting time. I feel like it definitely took away from my time,
Uh-huh.
like just being on the college campus. So that's something to consider too. But that's for a different
Girl, we
life.
can talk about it on this live, this college week live,
That's
honey. 'Cause I
true.
had
Like,
a little boyfriend when I went to college. That lasted 2 weeks. I know. I think late, but it was the first weekend, and it went down, and it was over.
oh
Yeah,
wow,
yeah. That was my high school sweetheart. So funny. I ran into him earlier this year, and
really?
yes, I was walking up the street, and I hear somebody say, "Excuse me, miss," and I'm like, and I think it's just a regular dude trying to holler, and I'm like, whatever. He's like, "You don't remember me?" And as soon as the words rolled off his tongue, I put it. I said, "Oh my god!" I turned around. And he was like, "Yo, where you been?" Married with
No,
children, all the things. But
good for you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I definitely my because looking back, even though that was probably like the one of the biggest heartbreaks for me, he just wasn't meant for me. Wasn't meant to go with me into the next season. So I don't know.
That
But yeah, I
that
don't
part.
know. I don't want to poop on high school
Hmm.
relationships that go into college, but more often than not, they especially when you're
And
away, or
they're not,
yeah,
or
they're not, and they're home, or you guys are in two different states, two different schools.
hmm
I think, more often than not, those relationships don't work for that season. It
hmm
doesn't mean that you can't circle back when you're home from the center for the summer and things like that. But in my opinion, I would just focus on the new season and being in college in my
hmm
life. So yeah, when me and him broke up, and it's so funny, he broke up with me, and it's like he knew, kind of like, Maria, you're growing, you're going into another direction. Like, I'm staying home, blah blah blah. And I was like, no. But you know what? He did the right thing. He did the right thing, even though I couldn't see it at the time. He did the right thing. So he knows who he is, and I wish him all the best forever and ever, because he's part of my story. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, for the homesickness, that definitely played a major part in it. And I wish it didn't, but it did. And I feel like that definitely distracted me because I didn't, not to say that I didn't miss my family, because I really did, but it's like I prepared myself for what life would be like once I went away from college and not having my family. Like, all right, I'm going to FaceTime them, I'm going to call them, but I'm also going to like give them some space because these are people that I live with and see every day. So it's like, I need to create my own bonds on this campus. I need to like engulf myself into this
Yeah.
entire experience. And I feel like that relationship definitely like put a damper on it only because all of the anxieties of like, oh my gosh, I'm 8 hours away and you're in New York and I have no idea what's going on at
Mhm.
home. Like just the relationship anxieties. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I miss home, I miss home, I miss him, da da da. And I feel like that I can admit it now because I'm
Mhm.
older. I feel like that also played a little bit of a part as to why I went home. I didn't like the college campus, but I feel like also that played a little bit of a part of why I wanted to come
Mhm.
home. And I'm like, definitely plays into the part of remember why you're going to school, remember why you want to be there, and don't let anything or anyone deter you from that. So dealing with homesickness, just making sure that you're keeping in contact with the people that matter. Make your dorm life a fun one. Like, how do you want your apartment to look in the future? Like, base it off of that. Go on Pinterest, go on TikTok. Like, oh, you see all these girls decorating their rooms and having their calendars up. Like, you can mimic something like that. Mariama made an amazing video just like that. I'm
Mhm.
gonna repost that actually.
Yes, repost that. Yes.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So just think of college as your home away from home, and how do you want it to feel? Like you know what a home feels like. You know what your bed feels like. You know what your sanctuary feels like. And that's what I tried to recreate in my dorm room. And even with my roommate, I tried to create a pretty good relationship with her so that I'm like, all right, I don't have my family here, but like I'm creating like a mini one. And one thing I didn't do in school, which I do suggest, just make sure you, even if you're in the bathroom, just say, hey girl, good morning.
Oh,
Like
that's
make an effort to
good. Yeah,
talk to people
that's
because
good.
you never know who's feeling the same exact way as you and just wish somebody said hello.
Mhm.
Hmm.
That's good. I like that. I didn't do that more in college. Yeah, say hello.
I did it and I wish I did, but
You know, New Yorkers, we a little mean, so
a little, yeah, a little bit.
a little standoffish. So I didn't do that. But yeah, that's a good point.
Right. So we're talking about homesickness and like feeling better about the whole college situation. So what are some good self-care methods while you're in college?
Oh my gosh. And if you guys have any in the comments, please let them know. But
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in college, you are on a shoestring budget. So I'm not gonna, but you know, it's a little different this year. So this generation, because you know, you guys have access to a lot more things. So I would first and foremost, if I were in college, I would probably give myself a self-care, like a night of the week or it's like my date with myself, something that I do with myself. I used to do this, and you know what? I'm gonna bring it back. I keep saying I'm gonna bring it back. Well, I used to have like it wasn't in college, but just post college. It's just like I like Wednesday nights was my date night with myself. So I knew I had my Wednesday nights or my what I was gonna do, whether it was Netflix, eat something good, cook something good,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I knew that was my time for me. So I would say put time on your calendar. Same way you put time on the calendar to study, to go to class or to go to the dance rehearsal. Put time on your calendar. Like, you know what? Tuesday after that test, when I'm done, I'm gonna go get me a bomb smoothie and a slice of pizza, and I'm not gonna do anything. You know what I'm saying? Or I'm gonna go on a run or something like that. So I would make that a part of your routine. Don't wait till you get too tired to burn out to do something nice for yourself. I think you should be doing something nice for yourself daily, whether it's taking an hour for yourself. Like I'm talking to one of our ambassadors the other day, and she was like, Maria, you're my last meeting, and then I'm gonna take a nap for 2 hours and then wake up and do her assignment. So I would just say have things in place. Do you know just make time for yourself to do what it is that to restore you, because so you know we discussed self-care is not always like candles and bubbles. Sometimes self-care is literally taking a nap. Maybe for you it's prayer, maybe it's going to, like Jocelyn is saying, look, cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Listen, oh God, when I'm in here, baby, when I got my salsa music playing and I am cleaning, I'm having me a time. So I would say just find blocks of time to do something that's gonna make you feel replenished, restored, so you can go back to being your best self. And that looks different for everybody. Like you said, like it's working out, it's dancing, it's real actual therapy, it's going to hang out and socialize with your friends. Maybe it is, I don't know if you have bathtubs on college campuses, so I don't know if it's a bubble bath, but maybe it's, maybe I have a diffuser in my house, so
Mm-hmm.
I put like essential oils in there. Maybe it's just having your essential oil diffuser chilling. Maybe it's, well, I know y'all can't have candles because those are like fire hazards
Mm-hmm.
on the
So you got
campus. So you
have a
get,
wax warmer.
oh, you can?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Some campuses let you have a wax
Okay.
on there.
Because I know you definitely can't handle
Hmm.
candles, because that, that's gonna cause a fire. So do things like that. Go for walks. Oh
Hmm.
my God, I think that's really important. Take time, just go sit, look at the stars. Especially if you, I feel like college campuses are always beautiful.
Hmm.
There's always greenery. There's always places to walk, sit, talk. Like, especially now that it's fall and it's like that crisp air. Oh my gosh. Like, I think this is the perfect season to sit outside with a hoodie, a cup of tea, maybe call your mom or your dad or somebody, check in home, and just daily, it should be every day you should be asking yourself, what did I do today to take care of myself? And if you didn't do it, find something
Hmm.
to do tomorrow. What about you?
For me, self-care, I feel like there's always something going on a college campus, whether it's a meeting of some
Mm-hmm.
sort or they're handing out something for free. So if I felt like I was stressed from like all the noise and work and assignments of school, honestly, I would just take a lap around campus and see what would find me. Well, I would go in the student center. I'm like, what they got going on for free? Like, who's having a meeting and giving away
That's
baked goods,
good.
or who's giving
That's
away
good.
ice cream? Like, just because I'm like, I'll meet people here, I'll get a laugh in because there's always something going on in the student
Mhm.
center. And that was something that was fun for me. I'm like, you never know what you're gonna get when you're walking on the college campus. So it's like, all right, I'm just gonna do it. Like, I'll just take a lap. And we don't realize how big these campuses are until we like do a full lap. And I remember I was stressed. I'm like, I need to get away from this laptop when I was in Brockport. And I walked that entire campus. I was like, oh, this is like running a
Yes.
marathon. This is long. But I was distracted and it really helped. And once I sat back down on my laptop, I'm like, all right, I woosah, I could definitely finish this paper. So that was cool. I didn't do too much of like the candle bubbles, typical self-care that people normally do, but I just made use of my environment. Like I just took walks. I just went to explore like what type of events are going on today, what game is going on, like what can I get into? Like just because there's so many things going on, you cannot be bored on a college campus. So that is something I like to do. I more times than none, each college campus has like their main street or like
Yeah.
their local city or strip of some sort. So I would always go on Google and just see, okay, like what's around, what can I walk to? Like, is there like a coffee shop or a diner or somewhere I've never been, and just do that walk as well. Take the campus bus, go to Walmart just to pick up a few things just
Yeah.
because I'm like, I'm bored. Like, I was taking full advantage of whatever the campus had to offer just because I don't have this at home and it's gonna distract me. So those were the ways that I like did some form of self-care because it made me feel good. So I would say utilize your resources. Don't try to make self-care such a, oh my gosh, I have to do like a hair mask. I have
Mm.
to sit and take like an hour-long shower. Like, no, self-care can just be going to get that coffee from Main Street or going to sign up for that club and getting a free baked good. Like, it can be whatever you want it to be. And I feel like we lose sight of it being like the aesthetic-y thing where self-care could just be simply taking care of yourself the best way you know how.
Yeah. I love it. I like that.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to talk about this because I feel like we no one talks about this with
Mm-hmm.
college and just like picking your career choice and your major. So how do I overcome the anxieties related to picking a major or career that's male dominated?
Oh, that's good.
Hmm.
Um, that's male dominated. All right. You have to understand that, take gender out of it. If you were created to be in that field and to thrive in that, you will. Don't feel like, don't compare yourself to the men. Like, you have to know that you belong in those rooms, you're worthy, you're enough, and like I said, you belong. You have to take that off. You have to take, because that might make you go into a room on defense mode, right? Because you feel like you're not good enough, so you have to prove yourself. Now you overperforming. Now you have anxiety because you're wondering, damn, did I perform good enough for this room? Will these people in this room accept me? Because you already walking in with the mindset that you're inferior or something's off because you're a woman. Not that you're inferior, not good enough, not adequate because you're a woman. right? You already walking in there. That's the it's a head game, right? So you're already losing the battle if you feel like you're not good enough to be in there. So you have to know that no matter who's in the room, right? Whatever gender, whatever race, you belong in the room if that's the room that you have been created to be in. So I would say get over that and know that it's a self-worth thing. It's a worth of self. Know that you're worthy and you're good enough to go into whatever field, male dominated or not. Like, don't feel like someone is better than you because they're a man, or it's a male dominated field, and you bring whatever you bring to the table is needed, right? Whatever it is that you were created to do is needed. Someone told me something recently, and I was talking about my ability to the diversity of my life, right? And the different type of rooms that I'm in where I can socialize in a certain type of arena that would be considered, let's say I'm a setting where it's a little bit more social. I can be somewhere, at a hip hop concert, and then the next day be at church. Then I could potentially be talking to one of my ministers, and then the next day have a board meeting, and then the next day do a keynote at a school. And he said something. He said, I hope you know your ability to do that is a gift. And that means that you were supposed to be in each and every one of those rooms. Like, don't ever feel like something's off. And I didn't even know my ability to be in those rooms is a gift that God has given me to go and shine in those rooms. So I say that to you. Every room you were created to be in, you're supposed to be in that room. And you're supposed to go shine in that room, male dominated or not. So I would just take that, like it's there, it's there, but put it in the back of your mind and focus on the fact that you belong in the room. Focus on the fact that you're just as talented. Focus on the fact that you're just as worthy, you're just as dope. And if there's anything that you feel like you need to work on, any skill sets that you need to work on to be better in those rooms, work on them, whether it's public speaking, whether it's an actual tangible skill set that you need for whatever industry that is, right? Just focus on that and say, all right, I need to be better at this because this is the type of industry that this is. You know what? Let me go take some classes on said subject so I can be better in that. You get what I'm saying? So that you don't feel you can gain confidence in your skill set no matter who is in the room. You're like, well, I know what I'm doing because I've practiced this 17,000 times, or I've made these type of presentations, or I've created this type of app or code or whatever it is they do in what is that? And code,
Yeah, I know what you mean. I can't even think of the
whatever
word myself. Coding, yeah, something
yeah,
like
like
that.
I've made focus on becoming better at that thing, so that now it's not from a worthiness issue, but a confidence in your skill set. Now you're like, okay, now I'm gonna work on being the best version of me and being the best at what I was created to do. And that's what I would focus on. Yeah. What about
Mhm.
you, sis?
That was beautifully said. I really don't have too much to say, if anything, piggyback off of. Like, I always had to remind myself, especially going into business, like, okay, we're all paying the same amount of money to be here. We're all taking the same exact classes. Like, I'm not better than anybody in this class and vice versa. Like, we're all here doing the same thing. So for me, I never let the gender thing get to me. It's like whether woman, man, like we're all gonna be successful. We're all here for a certain reason. And also, I would just like create the scenario in my mind. It's like, all right, if you putting everything that I've done on like a resume or on paper, no name, no gender, no nothing, and you do the same thing with any guy in this classroom, like on paper, I know I'm that girl, so it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. So it's like, regardless of everything, let's say I don't get the job or I don't get the internship, there will always be the right opportunity
Yeah.
for me. So my advice to any girl out there, like, don't let the male dominated career path get get under your
Yeah.
skin, because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, it's a matter of what you bring to the table and who you are as a human, not as a
Hmm.
girl. It's like when you look at that resume, are you proud of what is on it? Do you know that you have the skill set? And like you said, like, is there things that you can do to be a better
Hmm.
employee, not woman or
Hmm.
man? Like, how can you show up and be a better team member or a better student? Like, I would think about it in that way, and like let go of the he versus she, like whatever it is that we're doing, because I feel like it's so easy to be like, oh, I can't do this because it's a male
Hmm.
dominated thing. It's like, no, everything needs a woman's touch on it. So it's like, girl,
That
go
part.
after that.
Uh-huh.
Go after that career, go do that job, because at the end of the day, when you look at that rap sheet, you know that you can do it well. And I feel like we always forget that. So sometimes it is a confidence thing, like, oh, I don't think I
Hmm.
can. But it's like, girl, this is where the I did that file comes in. Think about all the things that you have accomplished, all those courses that you took,
Hmm.
and remind yourself that you are more than capable of doing it.
Hmm.
Whether you're a girl, a boy, or a dog, you got this.
Love it. Ah,
Hmm.
love it. So well said. This is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Yes, this is very uplifting. I'm liking this.
Me too. I'm like, y'all taking notes? Shoot.
Right, but it's all right. You can watch on YouTube. So, what are the most challenging and the most rewarding parts of the academic experience in college? What do you think?
I think, the most challenging part is like doing the work. Like nobody wants to write a 15-page state paper.
Hmm.
Nobody wants to do a paper and a group presentation and all the things. You remember group practice?
Hmm.
Who wants to do that? It's like, oh God. Like, I don't care for me, and I don't care what the major was. And maybe now classes are probably a little bit more interactive and stuff like
Hmm.
that, but nobody wants to do that. Like, that's the challenging part. It's like, who the heck wants to talk about psychology or philosophy? And you got to look up these old philosophers and give your intake and all the other stuff. So that's the
Hmm.
most challenging part for me. Doing the work, taking statistics class, like, but the most rewarding part is getting it done. Like,
Hmm.
nobody could take away my bachelor's degree from me. Nobody could take away my years at Hofstra University from me. That's the reward. Like, the end, the results, whether it's a degree, whether it's being on the dean's list, whether it's just being proud of myself. Like, girl, you went to college and you excelled and you did your thing. Like, that's the rewarding part. Yeah, finishing, having something to show for it. I
Hmm.
have I have both my degrees on my wall, and I look at them from time to time. Like, yeah, girl, you did that. So yeah, I would say that's the most rewarding part of the academic experience: getting it done, having the grace to prove it, and then seeing. I remember when I walked over. I'll tell you this story when I graduated from Hofstra. And it was a big stadium. And I don't know how my then boy, he's my ex-boyfriend now, but my then boyfriend and my dad position themselves. I seen two groups of people when they were calling my name. My friends and my cousins were like behind the stage. They happened to see me, so they saw me right before I went on. As soon as I got my diploma, my dad and my ex-boyfriend I looked up and they were right there. And my ex-boyfriend was like, "She's gonna be the next president of the United States." And him and my dad were like cheering me wrong. I will always have that memory in my head. So that's the rewarding part. At the end, you can say, yo, I did that. So what about you?
Honestly, same. Like, I feel like the most rewarding part was me being able to say, "No more school, girl, you done." Especially for me, like being a straight A student from
Mm-hmm.
young, and then graduating high school and thinking like, okay, I'm gonna continue on with school, I'm gonna do college, and it's just like, oh, how am I gonna maintain these grades in like a big girl school, and like finally figuring that out, navigating it and finishing, like that was just the icing on the cake. I went through a whole pandemic, like that was super rewarding, because there were times in college where I was like, I don't know if this is gonna happen, like I don't know if this degree is going be sitting in my lap in a few years. Like I don't know, but I pushed through. I figured out what worked for me, and I got the degree. So I feel like that was definitely the most rewarding part, especially the COVID portion, because I feel like that was really hard on me, and I still was able to like make it through. I would say it's the most rewarding and the most challenging. I feel like COVID definitely put a damper on my college
Mhm.
experience because I'm an in-person visual type of person, and to be on a computer all day really wasn't
Mhm.
helpful for me. I would say, what else was a challenging part? For transitioning from SUNY to CUNY was extremely challenging because on a SUNY, like I said, you could walk around the campus, you could walk up to anybody, hey girl, do you know where this building is? Oh yeah, I got you. Oh my gosh, you want to meet for lunch? That does not fly on a CUNY
Yeah,
campus. I'm like,
yeah. It's on a go.
what? In Baruch, I was like, oh, do you know where this thing is?
Or
Ignores.
what?
I think it's just the New York in
Yeah.
us, honestly. But getting ignored, or it's like when I was in Baruch, I'm not bashing them at all. They were a
Mhm.
great school. Not feeling I was getting the proper help because it was more of like an elite type of
Mhm.
CUNY. So it was like they felt as though you didn't need the help. Like you already made it in here, so you don't
Mhm.
need our help. So it was like navigating that as well, and just jumping from school to school is also super challenging because to take that leap of faith is very
Yeah.
scary. You never know if your college credits are gonna transfer through to each school. You don't know whether you're leaving like a really good academic program at this school to go to this one thinking that it's better and it's not. Like you
Mhm.
never know. But I would say, like I said before, I had professors telling me like, oh, it took me 7 years to get my degree, but I wouldn't change it for the world. So my advice in regards to this question would be just do college however it's gonna work for you.
Yeah.
Whatever's gonna make you happy and feel fulfilled at the end of the day. Don't be afraid of change. Don't be afraid of going to a better campus or environment that might work better for you.
Mhm.
Don't be afraid to change your roommate if you feel like that's not
Yeah.
working out for
That's
you.
a
That's another
good
thing.
one.
Mhm.
Ooh, that's a good one. Okay.
And just I feel like it all falls back to remember why you're here, remember why you want to do it, and just make sure that you're making decisions that make it easier to get there.
Oh, I love that. This is so
Mhm.
empowering. Oh my God. I'm encouraged. Okay.
I am too. I'm like, hold on, grad school question.
Girl.
I have been considering it, but I feel like I need to slow down for a second. I need to be a big girl for a second, and we could go
Okay.
back and put on our scholar hat.
Okay. Fair.
Hmm.
Fair. Hmm.
I do. I really want to know how your social life was on Hofstra University. And did you have like campus events or like different clubs that brought like the kids together? Like, how was that?
Oh man, shout out to Hofstra University, man. Like we had a time. A time was had. The social scene was everything. And I was on a panel recently for another organization that works with young women, and it was about college, preparing students for college life. And a lot of questions were about like HBCUs and feeling like if they went to PWI, they wouldn't have the same like social scene. And I was like, don't get it misconstrued. Like because we were on a PWI, we cultivated community with those the kid the children, those of us who were kids, young students of color. We kind of cultivated community easier because we were the minority on campus, even though there wasn't as many of us. It never felt like it because we found each other. So yeah, we had all, first of all, the social scene starts in the dorm room. So that was one social scene. Like, there are floor mates that we had, and roommates that we had, and dorm and suite mates that we had. So Hofstra, the there was something called C Square. So that's where the athletes live. So at the time, Hofstra University's football program, it doesn't exist, not there anymore, but Hofstra was really big for their football team. So all the athletes were at like C Square. So if you wanted to go to chill with the athletes, they were all over there. And then you had something called Nassau Suffolk. Those were another set of suites, and that was like the party suites. Normally, if you, I couldn't live, and I couldn't focus over there. Like I was like, I don't know how people live over there, but those were where like the parties with that. And then you had something, you had there were the tall buildings, right? So I forgot what we called them, and those were like co-ed, and then mine was actually the only old girl building in the entire university. I started there, like I didn't get to pick my dorm, and I ended up staying there my entire
Oh, wow.
time at Hofstra. I loved it. And we were like right close to the student center. Like all I had to do was come downstairs and be at the student center. I wasn't far from class. It was easy for me to get to the class. That's how the social scene
Mm-hmm.
started there. Then you had the group. So I was part of a group called like Collegiate Women of Color.
Mm-hmm.
I was part of a dance group called Fusion. I was also part of NAACP. I have my Hofstra University uh leadership award here.
All right, shout out
Yeah,
Hofstra.
I have my NAACP awards because I was involved in the NAACP at Hofstra University. So that's another social scene. So we were always because the NOAA program was really big on empowering the young students of color who went through the program. We were really big on like things like, you know, advocacy and social justice and all those things. So though that was another circle of friends. And yeah, just going out to the parties. Like, you know, and then because we were in Long Island, the schools like we had Hofstra, you had Stony Brook, you had a Westbury, you had a Delphi, you had St. John's. So
Oh, you had
that
all
yeah,
schools.
so it was like a school network of parties, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if Stony Brook was having a party, sometimes we would go to Stony Brook to the party at Stony Brook, or you know, if we had a party, our parties were high, yo. Like we used to have a time. Like my friends would come in from Brooklyn. They'd be like,
What?
"Oh,
All
yeah." My friends
right.
would hang out. My dorm room one night was just it was my cousin because I brought my cousin because we used to have fashion shows. We would have celebrities come to our school. I actually saw someone on Oprah. He had an amazing story about being a child slave, and I brought him to the school because I was like, "Oh my God, you got to share your story with us at Hofstra University." Like we had fun, and like I said, I would bring my friends from Brooklyn. That's how big our parties were, and we would just enjoy the night and you know be kids and be college students. So yeah, that's what I would say, the social scene. And then because we were still close enough to the city, we could still go to the city to party. You know, we
Mm-hmm.
just always made sure like we would have a ride coming back, so we would still hang out in you know, in Brooklyn and the city sometimes on like a Friday, Saturday night. Especially when we started getting a little older and we didn't necessarily, you know, after your freshman, sophomore, junior year, like I don't know if I want to do the Hofstra party. Now I want to go to, you know,
The Lower
whatever
East
club.
Side, or
Yeah, I want to
yeah.
go to the club. So then we started doing that, and we would go as a group. Like it's like, all right, y'all going to club such and such. Y'all going to that club tonight? All right, cool. We gonna go. We leaving at we all leaving together. Have a designated driver, go and come back. So I
Mm-hmm.
think yeah, that's what the social scene was. It was a time. It was a time. And another thing too, you make friends with people from all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
So some of my friends at the time are from like the DMV region. So y'all start going to each other's houses. One of my homegirls, she lived in Queens. Oh, so we would go back to her like community in Queens and hang out with her friends in Queens. Like you start to make different friend groups like that because people come
Mm-hmm.
from different backgrounds. So that's what the social scene was like at house. I had a time, wouldn't take it back at all. Nothing. Nothing. I probably would have not did too much because I was, you know, I wasn't this refined. I was, you know, she was a little mess
And
in
it's
college.
okay.
And she was a little mess. You get what I'm saying? But she had a time. I was always smart and got my work done. But
Mm-hmm.
baby, I partied. I partied by the grace of
Okay.
God. Thank you, God, that you kept me all our nights that we were outside being college students. But yeah, what was so was there a party scene at Brockport? Was there how's the CUNY social scene? What about that?
There is no social scene at no CUNY. I'm
Uh,
telling you that. When every single time I stepped foot on that CUNY campus, it was like I'm going to class and I'm getting on the train and I'm going
yeah,
right home.
that's how it is.
Yes,
Yeah. Hmm.
unless you are in a club or unless you're on a sports team of some sort, they're the only way you're getting like a social interaction is in class, and that's and honestly, everybody's there for the same reason. They're just trying to get their schoolwork done and get back on the train or get back on the bus. Like even if I was extending my hand and trying to say like, hey, like or like, oh, did you hear what he said? Or da 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 da, or like I'll give you my number, like we can study the it didn't
Like
work. I
that.
feel like I went to two different CUNYs and I don't have any friends
Okay.
from my CUNYs actually. But I can say, and actually one of my really, really good friends came from Brockport.
Oh
And
wow.
Rockport scene, I will say it was a PWI, but gradually I met a lot of students of color, and that's what helped me get through my first semester. I was shy going into college, but I was like, "Oh, no one here knows me, so I can, not to say not be myself, but like I can put myself out there and maybe do things a little bit differently than what I did at home that can maybe help me in the social scene." So I definitely tried to be more talkative or like put myself out there, and that definitely helped. I remember I had a history class. I will not forget this because this is what blossomed our friendship. It was a class that had clickers. So there was a girl in my class and she never came to class. Like, and it was only like the first 2 weeks of class. I'm like, maybe she's gonna drop or whatever. But it was like she was sitting near me always. So it was like I was able to notice her. And then one day she came. I'm like, girl, I saw you like the first 2 days and you never came back. What happened? I thought you like changed your class. Just me being nosy. She was like, girl, he's so boring. Like, I just hate coming here. She was like, but I have to come because the clicker is how you get your participation. And I was like, yeah. I was like, girl, you better come to class. She was like, what did I miss? So then because she asked me what I missed, I've been taking notes. I'm like, oh, I have these notes. I can share them with you. And then she was like, honestly, she was like, you cool. So maybe I'll stay up and be able to use my clicker if we're together. So I was like, okay. We had our class. We were ha ha kikiing, but like about whatever was going on in class. Like, oh, I think the answer is D. She was like, oh no, I think it's C. And we'll be ha ha kikiing. It was such a fun time, and it made class super fun. And I remember that was still like the first 2 weeks of the semester, and I didn't really have any friends like that besides my roommate. And I was like, oh, like what class do you have after? She was like, oh, I have class across the campus, but after that I'm done. I'm like, oh, me too, but it's on the opposite side. She was like, oh, we can meet at what was it called? Harrison for lunch. That was like our cafeteria. I was and in my head I'm like, me? You want to have lunch with me, girl? And I was like, oh, okay, like I'll meet you at 3. We exchanged Snapchats, and in my head I'm like, we're not gonna meet at 3. Like she's gonna forget, like whatever. She texted me at 2:30 and was like, you gonna be ready at 3? Oh, my little college freshman heart. I was like, what? Like, she really wants to hang out. And that started it. Every single day, I'm like, oh, you want to meet at 7:30 for dinner? Oh, they having burgers this week. Let's make sure that we get some. And that's what started it. So put yourself out there.
Yeah.
If you've never been on the college campus before, if you're socially awkward, college, nobody knows you. That is the best time to be like, who do I want to be? How do I want to present myself in this world? And that helped my confidence a ton. I felt like I could captivate a room because I'm like, look, I just made a friend just by being a little nosy. And that was really cool. And that's what college kind of like set in stone for me, that all I had to do was be myself and just be open to saying hi, because as nervous as I am, everybody else is just as nervous as I am. So who's gonna break the ice? And I feel like by me doing it, I was making the proper connections, because I could fish out, all right, maybe this isn't gonna work for me, or maybe you can just be a study buddy, or maybe we'll just talk when we're in class, or maybe you'll end up being like my best friend and somebody that's gonna be in my wedding. Who knows? But I feel like college is definitely the place for that. Like, I have met so many different types of people, a lot of people that have made an impact on my life just by simply being in the same classroom as me, even people I've never spoken to after college. Like, it's definitely a cool place. I would say make sure that you go to clubs, not like dancing clubs, the school clubs, whether you're joining them or just going to the meetings, because that's where you meet people that like
Yep.
the same things as you. When they're having the major homecoming or games, just go. Even
Go.
if you're not interested in the
Yeah.
sport, just go. You know how many people I've met just ha kiki and woo, go Brockport in the stands, and we're like, oh, where y'all going? Oh, y'all going to this club? You going to Main Street? Blah blah blah. And you just figure out from there. And it's like, even if you would never think in a million years that you might be hanging out with the different types of people or social economic groups or whatever the case may be, like, college is the perfect place for that. Like, you really get to see different parts of the world. So that
Yeah.
was very exciting. I would say be social, be a social butterfly.
Oh my gosh. I'm just reminiscing about those days and
Me
my friends
too.
in
It
college.
was
And just,
fun.
oh my God. I had one of my friends, she would even take me to Bible study with her. Like that's
Hmm.
where like I got saved in college. That's what people don't know. Yeah, that's when I first like I was like, who's this Jesus guy? I think I like him. So yeah, and that came through like my friends. I would say, yeah, like Make the most of those. Talk to people, and
Mm-hmm.
you guys, you never know who else is struggling, who else has the same issues. One of my girlfriends, I love how her and her college friends are still friends to this day. They have a group of them, and it's about like 20 of them. They're all still tight. They have like their annual, like they call it, like an annual get together for Thanksgiving. They still get together, they go on vacation together. They just celebrate like their 20th anniversary of being friends.
Oh
So it's
wow.
like, girl, you just never know. You might meet your husband, or you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You don't never know. So I just say, go out there and make the most of it. Say hi. Just
That's all
say
you
hello
gotta
to people.
do. Say
Say
hi.
hi.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the people you have like you don't like at first, you're like, I don't like her, and then that ends up being your best friend for life. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've heard so many people say that, like, oh my god, when I first saw her, I did not like her. I thought she had an attitude problem, and then they'll be
Mm-hmm. Or
like, and
she
then
had
we
the
start,
stank
yeah,
face. Mm-hmm.
and then it's like then we started talking, and now that's the godmother to their children. So it's like you just
Yes,
never know.
that's always how it
You
happens.
never know.
Yeah, this is so entertaining. All right, so my last two questions, you kind of mentioned it earlier. I wanted to talk more about like the internship opportunities and just like career resources. How do you get access to that on a college campus? And I don't know, did you have creative residencies on your campus? They're like specific to majors or specific to careers, and like everybody that was interested in that lived in that dorm. Did you guys have that too?
I think there was one. I forgot. It was across the street. It was the Netherlands. I think that's what they call it. I forgot what their thing was. But like
Mm-hmm.
I said, it wasn't specific majors, but I knew the athletes were
Mm-hmm.
all over there at C Square, right? That was the only time that I guess like the athletes would tend to join
Mm-hmm.
each other. But the football players
Mm-hmm.
specifically. But I don't remember those. But I do, the career center. Every school has one. You also have something called Handshake.
Mm.
I believe every school has Handshake, so you would log on Handshake to see whatever internships and job opportunities are there. For me, back then it wasn't like now where there's so many, you can TikTok, Google, Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, your opportunities. So back then I was just I found internships on what I wanted. So I knew I needed a marketing internship because at my time I waited till I only had one internship in college, but it worked out because it ended up being my job. But that's the one thing I would have probably done a little differently is intern, especially if you're not sure on the career path that you want to go. Intern so you could get real life experience in that industry, because you might say you want to be in publicity and be a PR aide, public relations, and then you get into the environment like, oh, this is a little too fast paced, or I feel like there's not as much flexibility, or whatever it is, right? So I would definitely say intern, but use those resources, the career center, Handshake, do your own research, and take advantage. That's the one thing school gives you, open doors to other opportunities. Like every corporate organization wants to have a pipeline connection with colleges, or have um, some sort of effort where they're pouring into young professionals, with some sort of corporate social responsibility. So when it's time to hire, they normally go to those so a school, let's say like a Deloitte may have a partnership with said school, and then said school will have interns for Deloitte. And then what Deloitte is doing is they're training those young people to essentially become not only accountants and work in the financial industry, but be essentially work at the organization, at the corporation. So when Deloitte needs to hire, they're going to go to that pipeline before they go to maybe a student who didn't go through that internship program. So I would definitely take advantage of internships, because like I said, organizations are always looking for ways that they can invest. Well, not every corporation, but a lot of corporations and a lot of companies want to invest into young people, and make it part of their corporate social responsibility to say, hey, this is how we're developing young leaders and things like that, so, and young professionals. So I would intern as much as possible in the field that you're interested in. What about you?
Yes, I feel like Brockport there was a lot of internship opportunities. Handshake was a big thing there. Honestly, there was not that much to do around Brockport besides the main street, and there wasn't that many job opportunities, even if you were just wanted like a side hustle. So Handshake was a pretty good place to just find like a quick job or a campus job. I
Mhm.
actually worked in the art center in the like ticket selling booth
Mhm.
for like any shows, and I was like, oh, I'm just doing it to make some side cash. And then that I ended up being like the office manager. So
Wow.
that just on a whim, on handshake, like, hey, I just want to do this for some side money. And because I was very hands on with like, oh, like how much money are we making at the end of the night? Like, is everything getting locked up? I will always remember his name was Mr. Stewart. Shout out to him. He believed in me. He was like, I don't know, it's just something about you. You're very spunky. Like you just care about the ticket selling. And he was like, I just want you to manage this. And I was just like, okay. And then that became a thing. So I feel like that's what really started like my marketing media
Mhm.
love. Cause I'm like, okay, like I feel like I can do this. So that was really fun. I didn't study abroad, but I wish that I did.
Mhm.
Most college campuses have those opportunities. CUNY has them as well. If you have the opportunity, I would say
Do
go
it.
for it. If it,
Yeah.
or honestly, that is something I really do
That's
regret that I didn't do.
the one thing. And I
Yes.
was looking at Greece. I was looking, so I remember I was looking to study abroad in Athens, Greece at the time.
hmm
Oh man, if I could go back and do things a little differently. But everything happens
Yeah.
for a reason,
I
yeah.
still had a great
Mhm.
experience, but I would say if you do have the opportunity, take advantage of it because who knows? Like you're gonna wake up and have
Yeah.
like your coffee in Paris and do your schoolwork. Like definitely take the
Mhm.
opportunity. I would say in college it's the time to make mistakes and try new things. So
Mhm.
do as many internships as you can. Do marketing
Mhm.
internships, do medical internships, do teaching assistant internships just to get your feet wet and see what it is that you want to do and start them early on. You at Brockport and even in most CUNYs, you can get internships as early as freshman year. So
Yeah.
take advantage of everything that your college has so that you know by the end of your sophomore year when it's time to pick majors and minors what it is that you want to do because that's something that I didn't do. I did do internships. I just didn't do as many in different fields and that's something that I wish I would have done because maybe I would have taken a different path. I love marketing. I definitely
Yeah.
don't regret it,
Come on,
but
girl. Uh-huh.
I am a marketing girl through and through. I'll be trying to, yeah, I'm a
Mhm.
marketing girl. But in terms of the creative residence on Brockport's campus, if you were an English major or if you were in like the publicity PR major, journalism, there was housing for that. If you were in any sports team or like NCAA specifically,
Mhm.
there was like different housing for that. They had upperclassmen housing, they had co-ed housing, they had LGBTQIA housing.
Wow.
So there was, yeah, there was housing for everyone wherever you felt comfortable. Um, when you're a freshman, you really don't get an opportunity to pick where you want to live. But when you are housed, I can only speak for Brockport. If you're not happy in the building that you want to live in, you just put a request in. They'll have a conversation with you as to why you want to move, and they'll move you.
Okay.
And I would say on a college campus, because you are paying that money, don't sit there and be uncomfortable. Speak up whether you have to go to your advisor or you have to go to the head of the dorms, tell them what it is that you're uncomfortable with. Or even if it is a roommate, like, hey, can I get a single or can I get a different roommate? Like, it is your college experience and it's personal to you. So you have to make sure that you're having a good time while you're there. Yes, it's school. This is also your home for
Yeah.
some odd weeks. So make it
Uh-huh.
count
Mm-hmm.
for
That's a good
sure.
way to look at it. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was all my questions.
That was
Does anybody on the live have questions? Do you have anything
it.
that you want to add?
The only thing I would say, because one of our legends did this about abroad. Not only can you intern abroad, there's opportunities to like teach. I don't know what you call those, but like where you can teach
Mm.
English abroad, and it's a college program. One of our legends did it, and if I find out more information, we'll post it in the comments. But even things like that, where you're really, she went to go teach English in Costa Rica,
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, and it's so funny. She said Embrace Her Legacy gave her the confidence to like apply, and she got in,
Mm.
and she ended up going to Costa Rica to live and teach the children English. So really, again, like explore opportunities for college students because once you step out into this real world, baby,
They're not handing it out like how
Yeah,
they was in handshaking on the
okay.
campus.
Okay, they're not handing you out all those opportunities and
Hmm.
resources, but people always want to give back to college students. They always want to give back, even to high school students. Like people are always trying to build up the next generation. So I would just say find things that are going to that find opportunities that are going to be ideal for you. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you can, stay connected to your school. I feel like if you're an alum and you stay connected, you can definitely help transform the youth. And there's going to be college students that felt just like how you did when you were in college. So it's like you could be that voice of reason, or you could be that speaker, or whatever the case may be,
Mm-hmm.
that can help them. So that's something to consider. And I feel like when you're in college and you're doing these internships and you're going to different cities and places, you might feel more inclined to potentially move there or create your new life there. So I would suggest to anybody, don't be afraid of the unknown or any changes, because you never know what could blossom from them. So, like you said, she went there to teach and she ended up living there and creating a career out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be afraid of a little change, because it could be good for you.
Oh, I love that. Good point. That's a strong point. So many people I know, especially when you leave New York
Mm-hmm.
specifically, a lot of people I know who once they left college, New York for college, they either stayed away for some time or completely uprooted their lives and no longer, never came back to New York.
Mm-hmm.
So just be open to the path that God has for you. So that's what I would say.
That was a beautiful way to end it. Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't have anything else. There's no more questions.
No, all right. Well, if y'all have any questions later on, y'all know what to do. Drop up in the comments. Keep up with us this week. We're going to be having our college ambassadors. They're going to be taking over daily. Today we had Jocelyn. Look at her on her story. She was doing an amazing job sharing her behind the scenes tips. A lot of our college ambassadors will also be posting different empowerment videos to sharing different topics. They're really good. Those videos.
Mm-hmm.
I said, oh my God, these girls are, dropping jewels, dropping gems. Yeah, and then we'll be doing our, master class this week, out in Kutztown University. And make sure you download our ebook, letting you empower
Mm-hmm.
you, inspiring messages from college students just like you if you need a little bit more encouragement. And if you're not a college student and you just want to gift it to someone, make sure they hit the link in our bio. And that's pretty much it. Anything else?
No, just make sure that you're staying tuned for everything college related this week. Make sure that you're following us on all of our socials. And if you're seeing this on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe. And it's Q4 about to be Q1 of 2025. So just know that Embrace Her Legacy has a lot in store and you do not want to miss out.
All
Mm-hmm.
righty. All righty. Thank you, everybody. Good
Thank
night.
you. Good night. Bye.